on social media or anywhere. This isn't even necessarily social media specific, but your job in getting people to enroll with you is to distinguish yourself. I don't know about you guys. I am a Christian. I'm a believer. And so distinguishing yourself is a biblical thing. In fact, if you go over to the book of Daniel, chapter 6, he talks about how Daniel distinguished himself, and the king gave him so much recognition for distinguishing himself because of his character that he was set over a whole kingdom. And we don't talk about distinguishing ourselves a lot in our culture, but we do talk about branding ourselves. Have you guys heard about branding? Branding on social media, that's like the new trendy thing. But it's an old biblical principle. It's taking your God-given strengths, your amazing gifts and talents, and you're putting those, your specific story. I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but the chances of you being born on the day and year that you were born in the town and time that you were born is like 1 out of 400 trillion. Okay. It is literally so rare that you were born where you were born, with the gifts, with the moldings and everything that you were grown up with, and that you've got specific purpose on your life and in your life, and your job is to figure out what that is. And you get to partner with other people who are also figuring it out. But your job in network marketing is you have to distinguish yourself. You have to brand yourself, because honestly, there are thousands of Beachbody coaches showing up in my feed. Okay, they're not thousands, but many, at least a dozen coaches who show up in my feed, and I would have to pick one of them to enroll with and to start my weight loss or weight goal or diet journey, or like, I love Paige's story because she talks about how, drinking Diet Coke and eating, Cheetos, 100 calorie Cheetos, and running her face off wasn't going to work for her a long time. It wasn't healthy. And that right there is a secret to the sauce on social media, is you've got to distinguish yourself. You have got to be someone that me, on the other side of my phone, I can connect with you. There's a reason that I need to enroll with you, and you need to be forthright about why I need to enroll with you. Okay, so when you're talking about branding and social media, the first thing, if we know the truth that there are hundreds of people that we could choose from to enroll, we need to take an honest look at our social media platform now. If someone came to our Facebook or our Instagram and started scrolling, what would be the words they associated you with when they came to your site? This was a really big thing for me. So I went from, like, when I started my Young Living business, I had 250 followers on Instagram. And by the end of the year, I had like 1,000. But then from my second year to my third year in Young Living, I grew from 1,000, and I'm at 15,000 today. Okay, so there was a lot of growth. But it started out with this question of, what are people coming and getting at my site? Because there's a reason why I had 250 followers. There was a reason why I had 500. And there's an absolute reason why I went from 1,000 to 15,000. So what were the differences? Well, for one, I used to be like a negative Nelly. Okay. I used to post things about politics, and I would just kind of complain about other people. I was not a place where someone could come to my social media feed and grab a cup of cold water and be like filled with hope. Okay. And yet I was a believer. And so I had to take an honest look at my account, and somebody told me, hey, Leslie, so what are the top 10 words that a stranger would tag to you if they came to your social media? And it was kind of self-centered. I wasn't doing anything for anybody else but me. I was talking about me and my goals and my family. I was talking about how sad I was that day, or I would post a meme that was pretty inappropriate. Just, it wasn't very it was what everybody else was doing, right? So then I started network marketing, and guess what I did? I did the awesome network marketing job of just posting all the products and try this and try this. And that is a natural rite of passage, okay? I'm here to tell you that that's okay to go through that in your social media because you are excited. However, I would say my rule of thumb for social media on talking about my business or my product or whatever it is I'm doing, that 1 out of 5 posts are about my product and what I have to offer. And it always comes with a story. Okay. Now, this just means that I need to be posting on social media more often if I want to be able to get my product in front of people more often so I don't exhaust them, right? But my first goal is to stop and take a look at my social media. Who's commenting, who's not commenting, who's liking my posts and who's not liking my posts, and giving myself a real honest assessment. So I would really encourage you to take a look at your Instagram and your Facebook and say, what are people getting? What are my current brand words? Okay, and this might be a really good thing. Like, you guys have such a good network and community, a safe community where you're growing with each other. Maybe ask each other. Like, ask somebody who's really safe, like, hey, honest, like, just tell me one thing that when you come to my social media, like, this would be a real friend moment. Okay. That would be the first assessment. And that's the very first thing I did. And then I changed it. The good news is, guys, you can delete posts from the past. Praise the Lord. You can go and clean up your social media. If you have stuff on there, now I don't delete pictures and things like that, but if I had a caption that was just not helpful for people, I might go and delete that. But leave your pictures, because your pictures will grow over time, and we'll talk about a little bit about pictures at the end, about how they grab people's attentions and presets and all that. Those are like the nuts and bolts, but I really want you to pick 10 words that you want to be known for. Okay, this is where distinguishing yourself is a very good idea. For me, I decided, because I had been so hopeless, I branded myself as the hope stirrer. I wanted someone to come to my social media and they would get hope. No matter what I posted, even if it was negative, I would find the positive and infuse it with that. I wanted someone to come to my site and be like, man, I just really needed to know that there is something hopeful on the other side. Hope, the very essence of hope, is anxious expectation that God is up to good on your behalf. That is what hope is. And when we all know that we're living in a pretty hopeless society. So when you step out and you really put yourself out there as somebody who brings hope, that will be distinguishing. That will be very different. So hope for me. Laughter was a big one for me. Jokes, like good, fun, clean humor. Another one for me is beauty. Like, beauty is important to me. And then helpful or teacher. Like, I wanted someone to come to my page and be like, oh, I'm so glad I found her because I got some tips and tricks on blah, 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 whatever. But I would encourage you to write down 10 words that you want to be known for, because this will give you a filter for every time that you go to post. And you can ask yourself, is this hopeful? Is this funny? Is this tips and tricks? Like, you will know what not to post anymore, and then you'll have an easier time with what to post when you distinguish yourself for what you want to be known for. I feel really prompted to tell you this, that it is not inauthentic to brand yourself for something that you're not. Meaning this, I branded myself the hope stirrer, because I'm not saying stirrer, like stirrer, that's not a word, but hope stir, like I'm going to stir hope. The reason I did that was because I was actually hopeless. So a lot of the things that you feel like you would be being inauthentic, or I can't really be that because I'm not that, I would encourage you that you can call things as what they aren't as they are. Meaning, you can speak something over yourself that is really, really helpful, and you can step into a new dimension of your destiny in your business, because you want to attract people who are hopeful. The last thing you want to do is enroll someone for Beachbody and then be like, this doesn't work. I don't want to count. I don't want to do containers. Oh, those crunches are terrible. Like, you're going to want to post stuff out there where people are going to be attracted, and you want to work with people who are positive and energetic. And so I would encourage you that even if you're not maybe there yet, brand yourself that way and step into something new, because people love that. And I would like to say your leader here, Paige, she's done a really good job at this over the last year. She's been vulnerable to share her story about counseling and things like that. And guess what? She's probably connecting with people behind the scenes who are going through counseling. And she's automatically gaining relationship with people in the background who may be ready, whether they're ready today or they're ready in a year, to make a physical and diet change that she will be there for them in the future. But right now, your goal is to connect with people on social media according to the kind of team that you want to be known for, the person you want to be known for, and the kind of team that you want to grow. So really focus in on those 10 words. And I would encourage you to like talk about it with each other and compare words, and really, what was I going to say, edification, where you're edifying. When you see someone here that is doing, like, going to take this challenge to change their social media and upgrade it, call them out on it. Like, say, I saw you post that and it was so good. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being like, I saw you guys share your list of 10 words. And then when you guys post something on social and you see one of those 10 words, like it fits their brand, please cheer each other on, because that's such a vulnerable thing to step into as a business. And I promise you, you grow into your brand. You really grow into it and you evolve, and people come back and they appreciate you in 1 year when they've been like, wow, I remember when you took a turn, and over the last year, you've been so consistent, and I'm going to enroll with you just because you did that. I have people who enroll with me now because they just are so thankful that they got to watch me evolve in the last year, and say like, well, you must be doing something here, because I want to, like, I don't care if I ever do this as a business with you, but I just want to be linked to you in this way because I've watched you grow and change on social. So choosing 10 words to brand yourself is a really good idea. Also, this is something that I think I've been doing it for a while and I didn't have words for it, but I heard someone else talk about this on social media, and it's having storylines. If it really is true that your birth and your life is a 1 out of 400 trillion chance, that means you have a really unique storyline. And choosing 3 to 5 storylines, pieces from your life, things that you had once had a barrier, but you broke that barrier and you're on the other side. I want you to think of a couple stories where you thought you would never, ever, ever get out of that situation. And then if you're on the other side of it, I want you to find 3 to 5 stories like that in your life so that you can specifically talk to that person who is still in the barrier. Again, Paige is a really good example of this. She's like in the middle transition of being on the other side of counseling. Like, she's just been so wonderful to let us in on that. But there's going to come a day where she's on the other side of that, and she's really going to encourage someone who is still stuck under that barrier to take the leap and to take the jump. And this is so important for social media because, again, network marketing is all about distinguishing yourself and building relationships. You have to put yourself in a space where people can connect to you. And one of the books I'm going to recommend, and you guys can write this down, is called A Story Brand by Donald Miller. His podcast is fantastic. His first 7 podcasts are epic. Please go listen to them. He has a book. I just had it out, but that's neither here nor there. He talks about how our job in business is to empower people to be a hero. Okay, because everybody has something that they're going through right now where they're just not sure if they're going to make it to the other side. And like every good movie, there's this guide. There's somebody who has been through it, who talks that person through to the other side, and you see them grow and evolve. And that is what branding, that's another thing what branding is you're not going to play the hero for your friend, but you're going to talk to somebody who you don't know yet. You're just gonna, like, how do I give an example? So my husband, 3, 4, 5 years ago, was unfaithful for 18 months with a coworker. Okay, we're gonna be real friends here tonight. It was devastating. It was in the middle of my 3rd pregnancy, and I didn't know if we were gonna make it. Honestly, I did not know if we're going to make it. And that pushed us into a season where we went through deep counseling and hardcore reconciliation. Okay. That story right now, we are on the other side of that. It has been almost 5 years now. We have a way better marriage than we ever had before. We've had 3 children after, like post unfaithfulness, and we have seen God do things in our marriage that would just blow your mind. Okay, like my husband had a complete heart change, and so did I. And I am on the other side of something that I thought and deemed was the worst thing that could ever happen to a wife. That was like my greatest fear ever, right? Now, one of my storylines on social media is to talk to the woman who has just found out that day that her husband has been unfaithful. My goal is to share my story in such a way that she is so filled with hope, even when she just has no reason to be filled with hope. It's to hear a story of someone who has made it through to the other side. And guess what? I've had the privilege and honor of talking to and helping dozens, triple dozens of women who have gone through that. And guess what? Many of them are my customers today. Now, did I do that so I could enroll them? No, but you guys, I have a business and I want everyone to enroll with me because I'm going to take really good care of them. I'm going to be the best oil person on the planet for them. I'm going to be there for them at whatever capacity they need for me to be. But they just happen to, we connected over something entirely separate from our business. Does that make sense? So like you're going to find 3 to 5 stories in your life where you thought maybe you just want to talk to the girl who's about to go through something you went through that you just never, and this could be something, oh my gosh, you guys, this could be, that doesn't have to be like adultery. Like, wow, like that's intense. It could be something as like, gosh, I was majorly addicted to Jell-O pudding pops and I would eat, a dozen a day and I never thought I was going to break that thing. And then one day I did, and this is how I did it. And there's hope on the other side. Okay. So it can be as deep and as who is the person that if you could just tell them this one thing that it was going to be okay, who would you be talking to? 3 to 5 of stories like that is going to give you so much content on social media. It's ridiculous. Like I could talk about that. I could talk about my product that way. I could talk about basically I'm 35 years old and there's way more to go through, but there are a lot of things in my life where I know I could speak to somebody who is in that particular season. And so when I post things or I talk about things in my stories or on Facebook or whatever, it gives people a chance to connect to me. And then guess what? They're going to watch all my stories on all the other things I'm doing, including my product and including my business. And that is always being offered. Does that make sense? So I want you to, if you find yourself in this season where you're like, I just don't know what to post and I'm just really not that deep and I'm really not sure what to do. You have some really incredible, very personal, maybe not even that personal stories, things that you've been through that you could speak to, and you could be the guide for that person so they could get themselves out of something that they're wanting to get themselves out of, your company included. Okay, let people connect to you. Being vulnerable is a really good idea, and there is a huge temptation, and I wrote this down. If the truth in network marketing is that you need to distinguish yourself because there's hundreds of other coaches to choose from, I would also say it's super tempting, and you'll need to resist the urge to do what everyone else is doing. One of the things that distinguishes you in network marketing is to tweak or do something that maybe someone else isn't doing. Now, there is a tension here because have you guys heard of duplication? Do you guys talk about duplication in your company? Meaning everybody who's a coach does, like if you're going to enroll a coach today and they want to do what you're doing, they're going to most likely enroll people and coach people the way that you coach and enrolled them. That's duplication. So they're going to turn around and do for others what you did for them, which is really good. That's how we grow. That's how we make it so easy for people to get started. However, there are a lot of coaches who post their workouts and do the dances, they post the music and they do there's a lot of that going on. So you've got to find something that sets you apart, so to speak. A couple of years ago, I did this thing where, everybody's talking about essential oils these days. And I decided to lip sync and talk about oils, like lip sync 90 songs. Okay. Cause 90 songs are the way to my heart. And so nobody else was doing that. And guess what? Nobody else did it either, because they knew that if they did, everyone would be like, hey, that girl's copying LB. Like, you can't do that. She's doing that over here. So I would say like find something that sets you apart from all the other coaches that does make you a little bit more fun or more professional. Some of you guys, you're like way professional. You need to lean into that. When you see a fun coach and you see that they're attracting a lot of people who are fun, but you're like, I want to be that, but I'm not. I'm just way more professional. And I did the, like lean into who you really are, and then tweak something that has already been done that's duplicable, but also eccentric. That's something that is unique to you. Again, your goal on social media is to distinguish yourself, and you have everything you need to do that today. You just need the boldness to sit down and write it out and find 3 to 5 things that are your story and allow people to connect to you, because you have everything you need to be a top income earner with Beachbody. You have everything you need. You have all the stories, you have all the content, you have everything you need to gain relationships. You already have a place where people can come and easily get started on nutrition and on workouts and things like all that is set in place. Now the real hard work is to connect with people and build relationships. And doing that on social media, you got to stand out, right? So there's this book that I read, and it's actually written by a friend of mine. It's called Getting Noticed. Getting Noticed by Lindsay Teague Moreno. And it is specifically about building or getting noticed on social media. I read that book 2 years ago, and I do believe that that book and the things that she had to say in that book were a reason for the tremendous growth that we had, and me just being really consistent about sharing those 3 to 5 things that I'm trying to help people with, and rotating those and sprinkling in the product and the business side on that. This is really weird. I didn't have this written down. Well, I have this written down. Consistency is everything, right? Being on social media. I'm coming off a 2-week fast on social media. Like, I have to take a break because I get my you guys, when you pray for platform, but then you get it, and you just like, it is something to be stewarded. And so the moment that social media starts to be a place where you're freaking out, or you're thinking about it 24/7, or you're wondering what people think of you, like, take a step back and really see it for the gift that it is. If you have 50 followers, pretend like you have 50,000. Give them the content and give them the value. What's in it for them for following you on social media? That's like my biggest thing, is what's in it for others when they come follow me, and treat everybody on your social media as though they're a part of 50,000, because it really does matter. Consistency is everything. But I feel, well, now that I said that other thing, now I don't remember what I was going to say, because that's how it goes. I was prompted to say something, and I should have said it before I read the things that I didn't write down, because I said, oh, I didn't write this down, but, and then, yep, not so much. Okay, so the 2 resources, again, Getting Noticed by Lindsay Teague Moreno, and Story Brand by Donald Miller. The first 7 episodes of his podcast are absolutely free, and they are foundational. He's got also like 3 5-minute videos on there on how to design your web page. But you may not be building a website for your business, but the ideas he shows, he shows a couple of the candidates from the 2016 presidential election, or the presidential race, and he showed one of the person's websites, and then he showed the other person's website, and he showed how clarity in what you're doing and what you're presenting to people gives them a place where they can build trust with you, and they never have to question what you're there for. So those were just so helpful for me, because I know when people come to my social media, they're not going to see me like randomly rant on something unless I built my brand on that. You know what I mean? Like some people build their brand on ranting and things like that, but it would be really out of character for me to just go on social media and do something that I haven't been already doing. And guess what? That consistency, that showing up in a way where people feel safe and build trust. Again, my enrollments before I did this on social media were like, I'd enroll like maybe 1 or 2 people. One of those people would be in person and the other one would be on social media, but it would probably be someone that I knew in high school. But now I'm getting anywhere from 8 to 10 enrollments for my company because of what I've done on social media for the last year. And so if you are that kind of person who is like, look, I have a full-time job, or I have, a few kids or whatever, and you're thinking, I really want to build an empire from my phone, social media is going to be the way to do it. It's the cheapest. It's the most affordable. It's the fastest way to build your team. And if you're consistent and do it in such a way that is distinguishing and you can set yourself apart while being community, like giving people a place to connect to you is a really, really good idea. And you can, in fact, build your enrollments from online. And I know that Paige has shared that a lot of you guys here and a lot of her team has been from social media as well. Like you guys, I met my husband on Twitter. So you can totally meet your best friend or your husband online and like have real friendships and then go and do these amazing trips and do the recognition thing all together. Like this is a thing. And you have people who are waiting for you to brand yourself and to share 3 to 5 of your stories so that they can be helped, and they're going to be forever thankful that they came across your Instagram. They're going to tag you on things. They're going to share stories. That's how you grow your social too. Like if you're looking for practical things, you create content in such a way where people are like, I need to tell everybody to go watch so-and-so's story today and tag you on that. That builds your thing. For like practical nuts and bolts, hashtags are very helpful. You get 30. There's an app that I use called Smart Hash. It's completely free. And I have like 30 hashtags, bundles, all galore. It tells you the top hashtags that are trending as well, to get yourself out there. So if you're looking for like practical social media tips and tricks, the hashtags are great. I think you get 10 hashtags in a story. So that's a really, really good thing. But the more you have people tagging their friends on your stuff, the more your platform will grow. And this is really important because even if you are getting friends who might already be enrolled with someone else, the algorithms on social media are in such a way that if you have a friend who likes your post, Instagram's going to reward you, and it's going to put your post in in your other friends circles. So you're actually going to be reaching out. You don't even know that you're reaching further out in your network of friends. So the more often you can create content where people want to tag other people in it is a really, really good thing. But and I'm going to wrap this up. You have such a unique wiring, a unique story. There are things that you have triumphed that other people are waiting for you to share because they're ready to triumph. There are people praying right now for an answer or a solution for something that you have already been through. And so if you can start talking about all kinds of those things like that, you will have more and more relationships, more and more trust built, and more enrollments, a big, beautiful team that's going to take you guys to the places where you want to go. Yeah? Okay. Q&A. Let's do it. Who's got questions? Nuts and bolts, maybe, or anything like that. Y'all are muted, so I don't know if you guys have the power to unmute yourselves, but
okay. Something that I struggle with a lot is telling my story consistently, but not, like I get bored telling over again. Does that make sense? Like, how is a way that you present it in a new and fresh way each time you talk about
it? That's a really good question. And guess what? We're in network marketing, and that's going to happen because you are literally like, I talk about things on there that are so elementary for essential oils, and people are like, oh wow, that's amazing, I didn't know that. I was like, God, that was so boring. It was so 3 years ago. Or stories that I've shared. But again, if you're growing on social media, you've got to remember that you need to pretend as though this is brand new information to somebody who's never heard it before. And I want you to imagine the other person on the other side of the screen getting a breakthrough because you posted that. And that in and of itself excites me, and it brings me to the table of like, this is not like you have real forces working against you that want you to think that what you're doing is boring and it doesn't matter, and you've told it 100 times, so why tell it 101? Guess what? Push through that and tell that thing for the 101th time, because 101th time, that's true, that's real English right there. It matters, because there is a real living, breathing human being on the other side of that screen. You are not talking to a computer, and they need to hear it. And so if you can, something I teach my team is vision, VISION, which stands for visualizing impactful scenes inevitably obliterates negativity. So when you start to have a negative thought, like you just did, of this is boring, it really doesn't matter, it's a negative thought, you've got to visualize an impactful scene. An impactful scene would be somebody hearing it for the first time and getting a breakthrough that they never thought they were ever going to get, and they're so thankful for you. You need to sit there and marinate in that story. You need to play a movie in your head and vision somebody on the other side of the comment and just people, everybody is one decision away from changing their lives forever, and that thing that you told them could be the very thing that made them make that decision. So you need to visualize that, because visualizing impactful scenes inevitably obliterates negativity. So when you start to have that negative thought, you've got to envision something impactful happening. And if you get 5 likes on that post and it's not your most popular, move on, because one of those 5 likes, it could be life-changing for them. You just never know. Like my most popular stuff could be super fluffy and it changes nothing. But if I have a post on there where 5 people like it and somebody has a real life-altering change, I'm here for that. You know what I'm saying? I hope that helps.
How many times do you post a day, or do you have a goal? Do you think about that?
Somebody coming off of a social media fast. I haven't posted anything for a couple weeks. I don't think that necessarily more is better. Being active on social media for me, it's enough to post once on Facebook, post once on Instagram. I am a firm believer in stories. People really like stories. It's like TV. People are watching stories way more than they're watching Netflix and anything else. They want to see what other people are doing, and people are scrolling Instagram. So I think the more often that you're in front of people, great. But for me, and I'm in a different place though, like when I was really actively building on social media, I might post 3 times a day. Again, you need to find harmony. What season are you in? I don't want to say this to be disrespectful, because you guys talk about balance a lot. Balance is really good for nutrition. But I would say in life, harmony is the key. Like there are going to be some seasons when you have a new baby, I'm not going to be posting as much, because harmony says the baby gets all the attention and the husband and kids are doing their thing, and social media is not a huge priority for me. So you got to figure out, like, where's your harmony? What's your hustle season look like? And if you're in a hustle season where you really want to double down and invest in your social media and you want to change your branding, I would say 3 posts, 2-3 posts a day, do some stories, like whatever brings you life and whatever is going to drive you to that change. It's going to be different for everyone. Through the 3 to 5 storylines and the branding words, like you guys could be excited and start posting more often on social for the next 3 months, and it could radically change your business. So you do you. I would say if you're going to post once or twice a week, Instagram isn't going to throw your content up there in front of other people as often. Okay, so 1 post per day is my goal, and stories like anywhere from 15 to 20 stories per day, which you're only talking about 3 minutes of your day, right? 3 minutes worth of stories out of 24 hours. Yeah, you got time for that.
Okay, I have a question that you might not really have an answer for, but I think
Good.
we should take advantage of the fact that you are not a Beachbody coach.
Yeah.
Because you see us differently than other people do. So from your perspective, following Beachbody coaches, what is something that we should be doing to stand out and not blend in with the rest of them?
Well, honestly, I like when you guys post your workout videos. I actually do that sometimes. I'm not even in Beachbody. I get a lot of questions too. Let me tell you what. I like that. I think that distinguishing yourself for me, again, is really is talking about other things that you've been through and that maybe have nothing to do with coaching, because again, when you've been through something in life, you are more than just a physical coach. You are actually a life coach. We all are on social media. We all have opinions. So again, distinguishing yourself is like you, Paige, sharing your journey through counseling. You're literally coaching other people into stepping out and doing brave things. So if you are trustworthy in that, that distinguishes you. Not a lot of coaches are doing that. I would love to see coaches. I'm trying to think, like, it never bothers me when there's like a new program and everybody's doing it. Like, I totally am on board for that. That never bothers me. I think it's wonderful. So some things you're not going to be able to distinguish in that way. You know what I mean? Like if everybody's doing Lift 4 because it just came out and everybody, like, that's cool. Nobody is ever bothered by that. But I would say, again, give me some reasons why I can connect with you other than to be my fitness and nutrition coach. What other things can you coach me on? Does that make sense? Because it doesn't have to be necessarily a product or service you have to offer. Again, I just really want to work out with somebody who's also been through something else that builds affinity. And I don't think you have to make it so radical. It could be as simple as, like, I'm picturing Paige's little hip gyration. She's the only one that does that on my feed. So like, that's something so small, but it's impactful. You know what I mean? And you guys all do it. Like, it's a part of your team. Like, who knew hip gyrating was going to be a part of your culture? But it is. Here we are. I think it could be something so small. And again, just look around what everybody else is doing and ask yourself, what can I do different here? You know, you guys all know who's doing what and what all the common threads are. So how can you take it and put a little special flair on it? And I think that that's not something that's easily discovered. I think this is something you got to figure it out. I think you guys do a pretty darn good job. Like, if I wasn't doing Young Living, I'd probably be a coach, because y'all are awesome. It's fun.
What else, guys?
As far as like gaining followers and whatnot, do you find that you're gaining followers that are going to be like potential business partners with you or customers? Because I feel like recently I've gotten a lot of new followers, but they're either Beachbody coaches like myself or just not people that would be customers. If you know what I mean? I mean, anyone could be a customer. I don't mean to like limit it to that, but I feel like the people that I'm getting are not potential customers for me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. So a lot of my followers too, as you grow in your company and as you rank up and as you are introduced more to Crossline or people who aren't on your team, you guys do the thing and whatever, and you bond, you're going to have more and more followers like that. And I would say that is awesome, because one of your goals, one of your things on your list should be to get to 10,000 followers so you can have swipe up. And that doesn't matter what kind of customer you have, that's literally a person. So I have a lot of people in Young Living who follow me as well, and I'm cool with that. I just, again, make sure to share other stories in my social media where I can tag things that have nothing to do with my business in order to connect and build relationships with people. And what's crazy is that even though like people see me as like the Young Living guru, and I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but there are people who started following me for Young Living tips and tricks or for whatever reason, and they're not enrolled yet because their friend is too afraid to pitch to them the product and the business, and they end up enrolling with me. So don't overlook that. Like, there are some people whose failure to close on other teams, like, they're going to come and enroll with you because you weren't afraid to do it. So I think that that's just a perspective shift on your end of like, instead of being like, well, I don't think I'm getting the right followers, just think like, hey, I've got, 4 or 5 more followers today. I'm closer to my 10K goal. And I don't know if they're customers or not, but I'm going to continue to share my stories with other things and continue to be cool on my brand, and just know that every follower is important. They're an actual human being. And even if they don't necessarily serve your advancement forward right now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to serve your advancement in the future. And, yeah, so that's one thing. And again, too, like, that takes the pressure off. Like, that makes social media fun again, because we can get so swallowed up on like, how do I get more followers, which is great. But you know what? You get more followers by sharing your story, being consistent on social media, and being somebody who's distinguished. And it just takes flat out hard work and time, like the time to post, the time to interact. And I would say give yourself at least 90 days of doing this in a different way to start seeing some really great fruit. Last year I did that. I took probably 6 or 7 months, and then I had something happen in my life where a lot of people connected to me, and guess what? I had 6 or 7 months worth of content on my social media that they went back and they liked photos from 6 or 7 months prior to. So nothing you do right now is wasted. People are going to go back and they're going to look at your stories. They're going to look at your highlights. Again, when you are I don't know what your levels are, but when you're a blue sparkly diamond unicorn in Beachbody, people are going to go back and they want to see your life. They're going to go back 3 years. They're going to look at your highlights. They're going to see what you can. Like, they want to know all the things about you. And so you are building your portfolio, so to speak. And that's never a waste, ever, especially when you have family and you can go back and look at how far you've grown in a year. Like, there's so much richness to social media outside of just getting someone to follow you in order to, enroll them, though that is our goal. See the tension there? It's like, yes, but no, like, check your heart. That's a good question.
Okay, any tips for sharing? Because a lot of times where we've been is a hard place, but there's that fine line between like sitting in the hard place and letting people know where you've been, yet still using it as a hope-filled story. So the people who have been through hard things, do you know what I'm trying to ask here? Like, how do you put the bow on it? How do you make sure that it's hope-giving and not just like this, oh, I've been there, this is what I've been through? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that can be really tender. One of my, I think you've got to give yourself room to also be messy, and you don't want to seem so put together. You know what I'm saying? One of my close friends and a top income earner in my company, her daughter passed away last year. Her 3-year-old drowned at her husband's birthday party. Okay. And it was devastating. And guess what? She sometimes posts things where you just can't put a bow on that. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't ever expect her to, like, she has a way of keeping this perspective of, I had the most beautiful 3 years with my child, and every day with her was a gift. And she has this freedom to be like, I miss her so much, and I'm one day closer to heaven. And yet she really does look for the beauty in today. And so I think that you can be absolutely rocked over something in your life, and you don't have to necessarily put a bow on it, but you can take this spin of like, this is not where I wanted to be, but I'm so thankful there's a day coming. And that is the bow on top. It's just, we've not all arrived yet. There is going to be something in our lives where we're not sure. Like there are people who are experiencing high levels of uncertainty. And that's going to be like, again, when I say brand yourself and step into the things you want to do, I'm not saying that you have to shove things under the rug and not talk about them. But sometimes putting a positive spin on something is having an eternal perspective. And not everybody's going to have that. Again, like not everybody's going to have this eternal hope available, but you do. And so like sometimes that bow on top is not going to be very pretty, but it's going to be substantial. Does that make sense? It's going to be something that people can grab onto. And I don't think that they'll see you as negative for it. I think that they'll actually connect to you because, man, you were brave enough to be that. You were brave. You put it out there. And again, did that answer your question? Like, does that?
Yeah, I think my thought was there's a way to share that's like a complainy Facebook post, and there's a way to share it. You know what I mean? Like there's a fine line between sounding like that person and sounding like a person who, like, I feel like every time you share, even if it is in the mess, you're still infusing hope of some sort without making it sound like.
So
there is that fine line.
I've got a friend, actually, you guys might want to follow her. Her name is Lindsay Teague Moreno. I think she spoke for a Beachbody event, actually. Anyway, she wrote this book called Boss Up. It's coming out this summer. And she talks about how it's okay to say you're struggling with something as long as you also say what you're going to do about it tomorrow. So one of the things I do on my team is we have this thing called a culture agreement. I have a culture agreement in my team page. And the culture agreement is basically a list of rules. And it says, if you have something to complain about, make sure you have 2 solutions with it. Like, if you have a problem with the shipping and customer service and whatever, we all know these negative people, right? And like, you've got to protect the culture. And I think that there's a huge difference between someone who is negative and someone who is having a hard time and they want to do better and they just haven't found their breakthrough yet. I think you'll be able to tell the difference. And if you're going to post something that you're struggling about, then maybe even just in that same post, ask for, like, if you don't have a couple solutions, like I might have a couple solutions to this, but if you have input, friends on Instagram, what would you do? And I know that can be super vulnerable as well, but you know what I'm saying? Like, either you have a couple solutions and you're tacking that on, like you're saying, I'm in this space, but I don't plan on standing here forever. Like, my goal is, like, I'm here now, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be there in a couple hours. Like, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to be strategic. And I think that you can share the struggle and say, here's what I'm going to do to do it better, or like to get moving forward so I can grow. Does that make sense?
Any other questions for Leslie while we have her? Anybody at all? Okay, well, we appreciate you so much. I love this specifically because it was different than any other social media type of training I've heard.
Awesome.
It's cool because it's like we have the tools, just like you said, we have the tools we need. We don't need anything extra. So thank you so much for spending your night with us.
You're so welcome, and I'm very honored, and I'm really excited for you guys and how your social media is going to grow this year and how your teams are